According to a new study, the Oklahoma Department of Human Services is still falling short of meeting the goals set out in the Pinnacle Plan, a court-ordered settlement to improve conditions for children in foster care. Supporters of the effort see progress being made, while critics charge the agency isn't doing the things it should to improve life for thousands of children.
A second report is out from the group charged with monitoring the state's compliance with the Pinnacle Plan. It concludes that DHS is not making good faith efforts in foster home recruitment and in recruitment of therapeutic foster care homes. And while the report finds DHS did make a good faith effort to reduce the use of child shelters for children under 2, it showed there was a spike in shelter use for older children. And in several other categories, the state provided flawed or incomplete information, meaning further findings will be delayed until the next report in October.
I think they just, frankly, skimmed the surface of how bad things really are. I think it's much worse than the co-neutrals even know.
Ann Sublett is an attorney who represents abused children for free, something she's done for decades. She is critical of the state agency's performance.
It's getting worse. It's not getting better, and everyone on the front lines knows that.
Sublett believes the state is looking in the wrong place for solutions to the problem.
The notion that what we need is more and more reform. We need more and more well-trained workers.
Ed Lake is the new director of DHS. He admits there were problems getting started on the Pinnacle Plan.
We stumble a little bit out of the gate on our foster care contracts. We wanted to go to private providers to recruit and retain foster homes, and then at the same time we were experiencing a large increase in the number of children coming into custody.
The report's timeline ended in December of last year, and since then, Director Lake says the agency has added hundreds of new foster care homes to the 1,700 it already has.
And we're now up to about 550 homes approved and more in the pipeline. So we think that we'll get around 900 new foster homes approved this year. The goal was a little over 1,100.
While that is still short of the goal, Director Lake says it does show the state moving in the right direction. Speaking on OETA's People's Business Program, State Representative Jason Nelson agreed.
It's not moving near fast enough, but it is encouraging that we're moving in the right direction. There's a culture shift happening at DHS, and I think in the legislature too.
Over the last 2 years, the legislature has given DHS an extra $57 million to implement the Pinnacle Plan. The agency asked for $70 million. State Representative Richard Morissette says the state needs to pay up.
We're being cheapskates, and Ed Lake is just carrying water for the governor. This Department of Human Services has not significantly improved since the Pinnacle Plan was agreed to. We need to get after it, regardless of what those other people that are covering for her say.
While it's still $13 million under the agency's request, Director Lake says the funding is an improvement.
We weren't able to fund every last piece of the plan, but that is a significant investment. The governor and the legislature has been wonderful in terms of the support. No complaints.
DHS is also on the verge of missing another important Pinnacle Plan requirement. The agency is asking for $36 million more this fiscal year to increase stipends to foster families and pay raises for social workers. But Representative Jason Nelson says that isn't going to happen.
That was a supplemental request. They're not going to get it as a supplemental. I'm hoping that we can give them that money at the beginning of the new fiscal year, July 1st.
Director Lake sees the increased use of outside sources to divert children away from state care and increased privatization as the ways to help the agency stay in compliance with the Pinnacle Plan.
Intensive in-home services, family preservation services, where clinicians will work directly with families so that the child can remain in the home and work on parenting skills and the issues that made it unsafe for the child to begin with.
Representative Nelson says that is already happening.
50 different organizations, including DHS, Mental Health, OJA, and a number of private organizations that are all participating in putting this together, and it's the best and brightest of the nonprofit community in Oklahoma County. and Tulsa's looking at it. Probably will start in Tulsa within the next couple of years.
And Sublett says that will mean spending more money.
To make that work, you've got to have caseworkers, social workers on the ground who are working with those families regularly to make sure that the families are getting the services that they need.
State Senator A.J. Griffin is on the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. She likes the idea of increased privatization.
In my opinion, we're going to improve the agency by privatizing the service delivery and letting government do the pieces that government has to do, and letting our nonprofit community and the true experts in the field do the real work with the people.
And she says privatization has a lot of support in the legislature.
I know that I'm not alone in thinking that we need to return the authority on helping families back to our communities and decentralize a lot of the service delivery.
Director Lake says it's unrealistic to think the DHS, as big as it is, can do all of this work by itself.
We also have contracts for about every service you can imagine out there. We cannot do all this ourselves. I can't imagine a department that could do it all itself.
Director Lake and his agency have 3 more years to meet all the goals set out in the Pinnacle Plan. He already says it will take longer than that to get everything done, and that could leave the agency open to even more legal action.
They are still under the auspices and the jurisdiction of that court case. And from my reading as an attorney and a legislature is that the judge has enough right now legally to take over the Department of Human Services.
There is one thing that everyone we talked to did agree on. The social workers on the front lines of the battle against child abuse are doing the best job they can with the resources they currently have, but much more is needed.